joining us on this edition of our current affairs program, Issues of the Moment. And today our talking point is that sad and unfortunate incident that took place at the market very close to the Ahia River, popularly known as Udele market. That's our talking point today. My name is Chimezie Ozems. Residents of Ahia, especially those living in the Obohe area, are still in mourning mood following an accident that claimed the lives of many at the Udele market along A Street, Ahia. The Ahia state government responded by demolishing the market and relocating the traders to Good Morning Market, situated at Ngwa Road. The government also closed down the abattoir in the same area. The butchers were asked to move to the new site at Omomozo in Upper West local government area. That's the background information concerning the subject we are going to discuss today. And I have in the studio Mr. Ichendu Ihaka. He is sitting on my far left. Mr. Ihaka is a journalist and he writes for the News Agency of Nigeria. Mr. Ihaka, welcome to Issues of the Moment.
Thank you so much.
I also have in the studio Dr. Eugene Woha. Dr. Woha is a public affairs analyst. Dr. Woha, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. Welcome, viewers.
Ichendu, let me start with you. What happened last Thursday was very sad and unfortunate. Now, as a journalist, can it be said that what happened was an accident waiting to happen when you consider the location of that very market?
Well, thank you so much. To my own thinking, I believe what happened was an accident that was in waiting. But then let me also remind you that about 2 years ago, a woman, I reported that issue, pregnant woman was killed there by a tricycle, by a truck that hit the tricycle that she was inside, and then she died with another passenger. I don't think the driver was in that tricycle. And over time, the Udele market, as the name they gave the market appears to have always attracted evil things. At a point too, there was a butcher that was killed there, and it resulted in a reprisal attack that took the life of the person that killed the butcher. However, looking at the terrain of that market, you discover that it was not meant to be a market. Whatever happened along the line, people started erecting structures as we find it in Ahia, and then you have a market. And then, because the thing was not planned, the location is a very risky one. It was in a valley that is, a valley that is in between two hills.
Yes.
The one coming from Obo Hill area, and then this other side of town. And you discover that each time there is a problem there with vehicles that are coming, it results in accidents. So I think before now, government had taken some decisions, but unfortunately it was not to be.
Okay.
And that is how we came by what we had last Friday.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, Dr. Woha, before you answer my main question, is it possible for you to give us a brief history of how that market came to be there?
Yes, thank you. Initially,
I want you to be brief.
Yes, initially there was no market there at all. What happened was that some people who were into this butcher business, killing of animals, brought the intestine and the hides and skin to the river itself to burn it and wash it. So gradually people started to converge there, and before you know it, like he pointed out, Ahia is one kind of place. People started to kill the animal there and started to erect structures. That was how the market came about. So there was no market there at all. So gradually a market came there. It's a very dangerous location, like he said. It's just a valley that housed the Aba River moving downwards. So part of it that was just part of the river initially, because the river was wide earlier, but gradually due to human activities,
yes,
the river started to become very narrow. And people were sand filling the river bank and using it as a market stand. That is history.
Okay, still on you, Dr. Waha. I remember a few years ago when Barrister Azuwike was the Commissioner for Agriculture.
Yes.
Then an election was held and the butchers agreed that they will leave that area for another place, precisely at Omomozo, which is in Oka West local government area. But that movement was opposed. Don't you think that this accident would have been avoided if government enforced that decision?
Definitely, definitely. And like we know, there was a commissioner who is now late, who was about to enforce the decision, like you said, before he died. So without sounding immodest, what happened was that government reluctantly didn't go ahead with the planned demolition. And eventually we have this accident now, and action is being taken. It's not only, let me just point this out, it's not only that place that we have places where accidents are waiting to happen. If you go to Ahia Junction as I speak now and see what is happening there, the Okada people, the whole area in Ahia Junction that is blocked with the market, Okada, Keke, that area is impassable. You also go to the other area in Afule, Omongasi market, you see that all the markets in Aba are moving to close the road. Even the one at along the express, you see that every market is coming. So let us use this thing that happened. It's true that it's a bad event, people lost their life, to also go further to deal with all these other areas where accident is waiting to happen. We can't run away from it. You can't block the road and think that accident will happen. So if you go to all this, the Chimawa for road, the junction, I can't remember the name now, the junction of Chimawa for, you see, Umojima Junction, thank you. You see, that place is also a place where accident is about to happen. Because people have moved the whole KK, the whole cyclist, the whole Okada are on the express now. So anything can happen. So it's better that while we are discussing the Udele issue, going forward, we need to also bring attention of government and attention of every other people to other locations where there is still danger. We won't wait until people lose their life like we have seen in the Udele incident.
Okay, thank you. Now, you are not a government official, but I want you to tell us why you think government hesitated to relocate that traders and the butchers to another area before that incident of last Thursday.
Thank you so much. I have this feeling that government had some challenges. I wouldn't know exactly what actually those challenges are, but from my own observation, I've discovered certain things in Ahia. Part of what I've discovered is that some individuals have made themselves to appear to be above the law. That is one of the things that caused the kind of carnage we saw last Friday at Udele. Again, people too don't seem to help matters. At a particular point, the government of Abia State, even this Dr. Okesi Ibazu's administration, had planned to move the people at that market. There was also this same Dr. Ogunji. I remembered on a particular day, an incident that happened between him and the people at Tonima's market there, the Ojus Okalo market at Tonima's street. he wanted them to move away from the road.
Yes.
But they didn't want that. If you go to that market now, you're passing, going towards a flyover or to Port Harcourt, you discover that they've covered part of the road where people who are on foot can pass on a normal day. And that is part of the challenges we are having. If government also had acted on the policy, on the decision, based on information that they got, I think we won't be where we are now. And I'm using this opportunity to ask that, yes, some of the decisions they are taking will affect all of us, but let them take decisions that will help us to live better lives, that will help us to elongate our lives,
Yes.
that will help us to be healthy. For instance, moving these people to places where they can be trading safely. It is unfortunate. We know that the very scorching economic atmosphere is part of the reason why some people are doing this, but they cannot be exonerated. However, yet we want government to enter into the fray and help to sort these matters out. I also think beyond the government too, that because I have this feeling that the decisions that rule our world is taken from very 4 good points. One is the families. If a family turns out a rogue, he becomes a threat and a problem to the community.
Yes.
Good. And of course, if there are laws that will check roguery, he is going to determine what that law will look like, his actions. And that will also help become now part of the history of the society and its operations. Again, you come to religious organizations, you come to political parties, you come to the markets. They decide what rules our societies. Now coming to the religious organizations, they are not doing well. I've visited some in Aba, and I've not heard people talk about their members, because you discover we are majorly Christians in this part of the world. They don't look at the issue of their members going to the roads to sell, to trade, and then expose themselves to danger. They don't address such issues, and it is not right. All that some of them are concerned about is how members bring in monies, and you don't look at how they live their lives and how safe their lives are at such points. It is not right. We should be incorporating things like this in admonishing members of churches and other religious organizations so that when they go out in their day, they will have this at the back of their minds to act right in these very circumstances, so that they don't get into problems either with the state or with themselves.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, Dr. Warren, yes, don't you think that the traders and butchers contributed to what happened last Thursday?
Yes, because if you live in Aba and you have visited the Ahia, you will understand that there was a potential danger waiting to happen. The level of, the number of people is that a small space, like I've told you, just a valley, Sanfield Valley, is so much. And the East Road is such narrow road, it's not a dual carriage, such a narrow road that it was easy for an articulated vehicle to fall off or to run into the market. So we also have to look at the vehicles, the kind of vehicles. I'm happy government has taken a decision that these vehicles will have to come in at night, because at night there will be no markets all over the place. But some of these vehicles, has been pointed out by the man at road safety, are very old vehicles. Most of the trailers are more than 40 years old, some 50 years old. So it's very easy for such an old vehicle to fail brake, to lose control, and so on and so on. So there was a lot of human error in what happened last Friday. And my advice going forward is that we have to look at the age of vehicles Yes, we have to look at the age of our vehicles. We have to look at our drivers who are running these vehicles. So that while we are looking at the marketers, we also look at the rules and the kind of vehicles that apply our rules.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Wong. At this point, we are going to take a short break, and when we come back, issues of the moment continues. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the program. You are still watching Issues of the Moment. We are taking a look at that unfortunate incident that happened last Thursday at the market very close to the Ahia River, popularly known as Udele market. Now, Mr. Ichendi Ihaka, let me still ask you this question. Can it be said that government has lost control of what is happening in Aba? When you consider that every available space in Aba is either a motor park or a market, can it be said that government has lost control of what is happening in Aba, activities in Aba?
Well, thank you. I have this thinking that you are not far from the truth. The government seems not to have adequate control of what is happening in Aba, and of course, and some other cities, or towns in Ahia. I think part of the challenge is also that of manpower. If you don't have enough people to execute an order,
yes,
it becomes a challenge, a very big one, to have that order implemented. What again is happening is that the people themselves, these residents, do not think of themselves as being part of the government, because if they do, they would want order. They would want a society where people follow the rules and they play by the rules. You discover that in Aba, even very educated people don't want to play by the rules. You find kiosks in every area of the town, even where people who are supposed to be enlightened and educated are living. I do not know if it is a curse that is upon the town for whatever reason that people find themselves acting in that manner. I get surprised when I see what is happening in every flank, and I don't think it is right for those of us that are living here. We should take, we should change the way we reason and the way we act, so that things will work out right for us. However, the government needs to improve its own action. Think through policies that you want to implement. Call together stakeholders and then ask for their inputs. Through their inputs, you will be making an informed decision that if you act on, people will feel at home to fall in line with your thoughts and your actions. But if you just wake up one morning, as in this case of shutting down the market, and then you wake up one morning, shut the market and do whatever, they can at one point or the other find a collaborator in a government agency,
Yes.
and then pay bribes. Then the government agent will give them their way and they start doing whatever they want to do, which will be contrary to what the government had already planned. So government should think through its policy plans and then work it out with parties that are concerned and that are involved, so that when you design your final policy platform, whatever comes out of it will be acceptable to the people. If you do otherwise, it means what you are going to find is the people acting against what you want, or what you think is for their own good. And at the end of the day, all you get is more chaos, which will not help anybody.
Okay, thank you. Now, Dr. Warmer, during the course of our conversation, you spoke of plans by the government to restrict the movement of articulated vehicles in Aba. Now, when you consider that Aba is a commercial city, don't you think that it may be counterproductive? Because we have multinational companies that convey their finished products from one point to another with these heavy-duty trucks.
Yes, but there's no other way out of it. Presently, government has come out with a directive that these articulated vehicles should come into about from between 10 and 6 a.m., 10 p.m. and 6 p.m. So it's left for them to obey this directive. Like has been pointed out, you cannot run a place without the rule of law. So you must suffer some inconveniences for the society to work out. So let them come in the night, whether they are bringing in cattle or they are bringing in other goods. Secondly, Aba is a place that is growing in population. So it's time for government to start thinking of taking off certain institutions, markets, to be off the town. This will help to decongest the already congesting areas. So the town will implode if you don't take away some of these markets, some of these institutions. There were plans to take away Abia Kobi, the School of Health, and all the rest of them. It's time for government to think seriously of taking away these markets off the main city, so that the whole place can start expanding and give people the breathing space. Like he pointed out, everywhere cannot just be a market. This is very, very clear. And the street trading must stop in Aba, because it's not only what happened in Udele, all over the place. You see children of school age running around with popcorn and all types of goods. So Aba is a place where efforts should now be made. It's just, it happened that what happened is a bad thing, but it's also a wake-up call. What happened at Udele is a wake-up call for both the residents and the government to address certain issues which has been left untouched for some time. Over the years, I've been crying about the roads, I've been crying about the markets. So it's time for, if you go to Umongasi market now, it's coming out of the road. You go to Afule market, even opposite the zonal board, the side that is a primary school. There's also a market growing just opposite the zonal board. And there's also the Afule market coming up. There's another one at Ahia trying to block the Abowore road. So there is time now to see either to relocate these markets or to push them in so that the roads can be free. The roads are meant for the vehicles. There's no way you will ask a vehicle not to ply on the road. And the road is not the market. So government must work hard, and the citizens themselves must understand that you cannot be trading on the road, you're exposing yourself to grave danger. And this is what happened at Ayude. It's very easy for these vehicles to lose. It may not be a very big vehicle. A smaller vehicle can lose control too and cause problem. So we are saying this because it's a very big vehicle and so many people die, and that is it. But for me, I think government should work harder on the roads, even the new location at Okpana. I heard yesterday that the contract for building of the road has been awarded. They will start next week. There's no way heavy trucks can take out to Omomozo without roads. So when you say relocate, there are certain criteria that will enhance the relocation. A road is one of them. Infrastructure at that Omomozo is another issue too. I will also advise that individuals can also go into this cattle business. People can establish private abattoirs. It doesn't mean that it's only government that can establish it.
You're right.
Yes, people can establish private abattoirs where people can bring their cows, kill it, and sell off. It's still a big business. The way our people look at cattle is not the way I look at it. It's a very big business. And many people are there on the value chain. So I encourage businessmen to start looking at the cattle business as not just a Fulani issue. It's something that other people can go into the value chain and establish abattoirs, private abattoirs with the modern facilities that go with it. It will be in the interest of the economy.
Okay, thank you. Now, each end, I know that as a journalist, we have done more than one report concerning that incident. What are your findings? Are the people happy with the demolition and relocation of the traders to another area?
Well, people are not happy majorly because they didn't think it was going to come so soon. Even though earlier than this very month when it happened, they had received warnings and orders to relocate.
Yes.
That is one of the reasons why people are not happy. And again, when you look at the places where they have been asked to go to, the Good Morning Market is sure far away from them at this point, because most markets you discover are constituted by people around the locality. So that one, they are saying it is a bit far from them. But that is not just the issue. The facilities there too appears to also be beyond their own comfort.
Yes.
Because at a particular point in time, I remember that either 3 years ago, the people selling around the stadium were asked to move to that same market again. And if they ever did, it means the market might not still contain this new set of entrants now. And again, the Omumozo abattoir also has issues. I remember the government announced work starting there about 3 or 4 years ago. I don't think much was done until this incident happened. And the complaints I had is that there is no road to the place, and the facilities are not enough for the number of people that are supposed to relocate to that place. So when we are doing things that has to do with the people as a government, we should consider the well-being of the people, because when you are acting in a way that will benefit the people, they will go along with you freely. You have no challenge in trying to impose certain actions on them, because they will find it very acceptable to go with you, to flow with you. But when your actions don't appear to be helpful to them, certainly you will discover that they will not be working in tandem with your own desires. And that will bring problems for the government and also for the people. So I think the government should, not just with this very issue of Udele, look at areas in our upcoming cities in Ahia and make plans, future plans. You discover that in Aba, you can hardly find any place that has been secured for a certain group of people or for a certain kind of actions, certain kind of production activities,
Yes.
you discover that even in some places, in some Aba people live in their houses and produce different kinds of things from within their houses, which is not safe. Why? Because there are no facilities to aid what they are doing. So we need to think beyond this very moment that we find ourselves in, ahead, such that when people grow up and get to want to do certain things, they will find a provision for them to really act on time, and to follow government policies and principles, and it will be easier for all of us.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Ihaka. And we are gradually coming to the end of today's edition of our program. But before we call it a day, before we draw the curtain, Dr. Ahia, let me ask you this. Do you think there are other measures government can take to avoid a reoccurrence of what happened last Thursday? I want you to be brief.
Yes, the government should go ahead and provide the needed facilities in the places where they will relocate. We should also move very fast to make sure that we take away all markets that are trying to block all the roads. We have mentioned many of them, especially the one at Ahia Junction and those along Abowure Road. There are about 4 markets there. That is a source of danger. Like we have suggested, the government should take away certain big institutions from the main town. Just move them away. It will help in the development of Ahia State as a whole. And when Ahia State University was taken to Uturu, people criticized it. But today, that university has brought a lot of development to that hinterland.
You're right.
So the same thing can be replicated. You can take away institutions, take away markets to the hinterland so that the town can be free. That's my suggestion.
Okay, thank you very much. And with that, we have come to the end of today's edition of Issues of the Moment. And for the past 30 minutes, we have been discussing the unfortunate incident that happened at the market very close to the Aba River, which we call the Udele market. That day, scores of people were killed as a result of a road accident, and government responded by demolition and relocating the traders and the butchers to another area of the town. I want to thank my 2 guests, Mr. Ichendu Ihaka. Like I said earlier, Mr. Ihaka is a journalist. Ichendu, thank you for coming to the program.
Thank you, Mr. Presenter. Thank you, our viewers.
I also thank Dr. Eugene Warmer for being part of today's edition of our program. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
My name is Chimezie Ozems. I also want to thank you for spending your time in watching Issues of the Moment. Join us another day for another topic. Thank you for watching.